Hey guys, it has been a little bit of a crazy week. We have this snow apocalypse. It's a snow apocalypse. We had one of these big snow days in Nashville a few years ago, and the whole city isn't prepared. We shut down. It's been a little bit hard because daycare's been closed, and this week meetings continue. There's a lot of perks of working in tech, but one of the challenges is when everything is shut down, work continues. Daycare shut down, work continues. So it's been a little bit tough trying to work with Ivy kind of at my feet, needing Play-Doh, needing snacks, just kind of just being needy and just being a little toddler. So that's been challenging for sure, especially as someone who was like facilitating meetings or trying to lead the conversation. It's been very distracting. Luckily, I've had some great neighbors for things that I can lean on who have offered to watch Ivy for an hour or two, and so that's been really great. Especially I don't wanna take advantage of their support and use it when I really have no other option, and yeah, so that's kind of what's been going on. Last week, I had a neighbor who made an igloo. It has 3 entrances, and that was pretty solid igloo. Love it. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about some of my updates for goals that I've shared previously. So you'll notice if you're watching the video that I'm in a new podcast corner. So I moved one of the chairs from downstairs. There was a set of 2, and we found that it was kind of getting a little bit crowded down there. So I moved a chair upstairs. I moved it by myself, like a crazy person. I like hauled this thing up here over my head. It wasn't too bad. So I rearranged everything so that I have a little podcast corner because I thought it would be really cute. I mean, last episode I was sitting on the floor with just a a white plain wall. And I don't know. I like the idea of having a corner that I can sit and read and chat with you guys. It's just always ready to go. The other thing that I did is I made a puzzle table. So I ended up, this is a desk that I would normally work from home on, but I found myself preferring to just use my laptop and being downstairs. Um, I'm not usually stationed with a monitor. Anyway, that said, I cleared the surface, so that I can use it as a puzzle table. And so I've spread out my pieces. I'm ready to go, and that's all good. What else have I done in terms of goals? I've not been doing great about waking up early. I probably had a handful of days where I was waking up early, and I think I've been giving myself grace a chance to sleep in because daycare is closed and I don't have to get Ivy ready and do the whole thing morning routine of getting her ready for drop off. I don't have a commute. I never had much of a commute earlier, to be honest, but I'm taking advantage of this moment and just sleeping in? So that one's TBD, but I've got the podcast thing. I could be posting more. I have a lot of ideas. I just haven't really put time and effort into that. And I was really excited. Somebody in one of the community Facebook groups, there's this girl group. So it's like, oh, for people in this neighborhood, they'll post things because they want to sell something or that they had, it's just a community group, kind of like next door, but it's a Facebook one for the women in this neighborhood. And so someone recently posted, they're like, "Hey, I want to get into makeup artistry and I just bought a whole bunch. Who wants to play with makeup and post content?" I was like, "Me." So I sent her a message and I just love the idea like of girls getting together. She got a lot of interest. People really are looking for connection on that group. And there was another post, someone said, "Hey, we have a book club and we meet every 4 to 6 weeks." I'm not looking for a new book club, but I share this because the reactions and the enthusiasm for people to connect in that group were just through the roof. So I'm excited to see if anything comes from this. She might be a little bit overwhelmed because there was also a lot of enthusiasm for the makeup and like creating content together. Yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of what's been going on. I did last night, we had book club for If We're Being Honest by Kat Shook, and Kat joined us. And so that was fun to talk to the author and get her perspective on some things. I always love it when the author joins our book clubs. And I do wish that we were able to see her in person. but everybody was snowed in. We were just playing it safe, so we did it over Zoom. I'm currently reading Yellowface, R.F. Kuang. So R.F. Kuang wrote the book that Babel, and I loved Babel. It was probably one up there in the top 3 of my favorite books of 2023. And Yellowface, I finally prioritized it. I think I was just waiting a really long time to get on the to get it from the library on the Libby app, and I love getting books from Libby, sending it to my Kindle Oasis, and then turning on airplane mode so that I can enjoy the books for longer. And then you don't feel too bad because it does get returned so that somebody else can check it out when it gets past your due date. So that is my hot tip. If you guys are looking to read more and you got some good juicy books, load it up. Make sure that it's fully downloaded. I think that's a problem. If you turn it on airplane mode and then you hadn't fully downloaded, then you'll lose it, or it will need to reconnect to Wi-Fi to be able to save that. I think a few people have already figured out this tip. If you didn't know this tip already, then I hope that give it a try. Like, I guess you could also do it for an older device. Like, maybe not everybody has a Kindle, but if you have a device like an old phone, you could download them to the phone through the Kindle app, but then go on airplane mode. I'm not quite sure if it has that same benefit, but might be worth giving a try if you want to read more. Okay, let's just jump into the main part of the show. Hey guys, welcome back to the Level Up Podcast. My name is Angie, and this is a show where I talk about some of the things that I'm learning, trying, and doing to be better, just be better overall. What can I do to be smarter, more organized, more healthy? And I just bring you along the ride and tell you what I'm trying, what's working, and what's not. So last episode, I talked about the wheel of life. And that's where you can really see how things are going in your life and if that's in alignment to your values. And I really think that's a great foundation to start goal setting. And maybe you've already picked a few goals because we're a few weeks into the new year already, but I'm hoping that that activity is helpful so that people can focus the opportunities and their energy into places that have the most gap. So when I say gap, that means let's say one of your biggest goals is to have a stronger wellness routine, fitness routine. Okay. And when you did the Wheel of Life exercise, perhaps you rated yourself like a 3 out of 10. And so that would say that there's a gap, like a 7-point gap of opportunity. And it doesn't have to be so metric spaced, but I just wanted to better articulate what I meant gap. So when you have a misalignment of your values, addressing and putting your energy into focus into closing that alignment, that would be the gap. Now, talking about some strategic ways to actually address those, I saw this exercise, and I think it was a Tim Ferriss exercise, and that I was introduced by Amy Landino. And Amy's great. So she was talking through this exercise, and I'll make sure to drop a link to the video or figure out how to point you guys to this resource. But the high level thing that I want to share with you is you have 3 sections: things that you want to have, things that you want to be, and things that you want to do. And so you can write down 5 in each category. Write down 5 things you want to have, 5 things you want to be, and 5 things that you want to do. And then there's going to be some overlap. Like let's say, let's talk about have and do. For instance, I want to have an organized pantry. Let's say that. I want to have an organized pantry. So I could also say one thing that I want to do is have an organized pantry. One thing that I want to do is to organize and buy containers and beautiful things to make my pantry nice. So that's an example. So there's the 3 sections, and now you have 3 columns in each of those line items. The first column is what is one thing that you can do right now? Like today, it takes a couple minutes to be able to do that. And if I take the pantry example, well, what I could do right now is place an order on Amazon. I could place an order for that, or I could sort through one shelf. And that's something that I can do right now. What can I do tomorrow? Well, let's say 2-day shipping, 1-day shipping, the things come. So I've placed the order and I can assemble the pantry organizer. And then the next day, then I would maybe decant things into beautiful jars or start doing that for 10 items. So you can get really specific. So that's how this structure has been really helpful, because having an open-ended statement like blank, this is what I want to accomplish, or like what are your goals for 2024, or even for this first quarter, it just seems overwhelming. And I think that this activity and this exercise, taking the wheel of life, then breaking it down to 5 things you want to have, 5 things you want to be, and 5 things you want to do, and taking that even further into really microscopic things. Now, the thing that I talked about, the 2 minutes, reminds me of another technique that I want to be better about implementing in my life, which is the 2-minute rule. So it's this idea that you look at your to-do list and you normally put it in order of priority. Well, to be honest, some of these things are so big, like it's a bigger project. That's not something you can do in a day. And for me, it feels like I'm moving over that item from day to day to day. Like I've been working on one project at work for a few weeks now, and seeing it move over tells me that that's too large of a chunk. Like it should be more specific, so that I can get that satisfaction of the check mark of like, yes, I did that. And it's also better like satisfaction, but just the same idea, breaking things down, like now, tomorrow, next day. So I should probably bring that technique into work a little more. But the point that I was trying to make is the 2-minute method is you look at a really long laundry list of things to do. What are some things that you can check off your list that will take 2 minutes? So you have an opportunity to take a really long, overwhelming list of like 15 things. Well, 10 of them would take 2 minutes each. So a little bit of that psychological effect of satisfaction, and so that I don't procrastinate. If I see that mega list, I'm like, I'll move it to the next day, move everything to the next day, just copy and paste. But I have this feeling that if I start practicing this and be really thoughtful of like, I know that these are not the top priority for today, but I'm going to take an hour to look through this list and try to knock off the things that would take 2 minutes. And that could be sending an email, it could be sending a text, it could be calling to make an appointment. There's so many things that really, if you think about it on your list, like something on my list right now is calling a groomer to make an appointment for Russell's haircut. I need to have that scheduled. I have not called them. It's been on my to-do list for a week, maybe more, because it's not an urgent thing and it's not a high priority thing. So it keeps getting dragged along. And I think this like kind of maintenance or like an admin day, to just admin hour to just go through and look at the things that would take no time at all. And this also applies to, I was admiring this vlogger. It was just such a simple life. And, you watch her, it's like cozy content, and you see she's eating the meal. It's a little bit ASMR-y. There's like maybe a little bit of some soft music in the background, but she finishes her meal and she washes the dish. And it's like, that is such a simple thing. And that took 2 minutes for her to do it. And then there's always an empty sink. And like, I'm thinking about this 2-minute rule in so many aspects. Yeah, so I guess the theme of today is being bite-sized, being intentional and thoughtful, and trying to look at your list differently. Like you have a list of priorities and things that are urgent, but what are things that are easy that can help you out tomorrow? Just to recap, I want to talk about a few things that we covered today. So I shared after the Wheel of Life, and they don't have to be together, but last week we talked about the Wheel of Life. Okay, so I just want to recap. Talking about a number of techniques. I'm sorry, it's just a little bit rambly, but these are things that have been on my mind. So the first one is this exercise of 5 things you want to have, 5 things you want to be, and 5 things you want to do. And then taking that a step deeper, what are things that you can do now to work towards that goal tomorrow and then the next day? So 3 columns. And we're not making it even further than that. Like we don't need to think about things that you can do in a week, things that you can do in a month or 6 months. It's very granular and super bite sized. So, with the theme of the bite sized thing, looking at your list of things to do, I have had a bad habit of carrying over these small little tasks over and over and over. They just keep going. Like if you're a journaler, you know the activity of like you move the arrow, you said a check is like you did the thing. A slash is you started to do some of that work, or maybe you're waiting for to hear from someone else. And then an arrow is like you are carrying this task to the next day. Well, my list, I don't have a bullet journal, but that's a technique that I still apply, is everything is just moving to the next day. And I wanted to share something that I would like to be more intentional about is doing that 2-minute thing, going through the list. These are not your high priority things, but if I set up an hour, it's like, okay, well, which of what are the 5 things that I can do here in 10 minutes, you know? Okay. And then the third thing in terms of the 2-minute rule or like just this bite-sized concept is how can you help your future self by move moving the needle in really small ways. Like I'm not going to do a mountain of dishes if I clean up after every single meal and use the dish that I had. So these are kind of my dreams of the person that I would like to be. And I hope that some of these might provide you with some value. And I really appreciate you for listening and staying tuned in. I will see you guys next week. So let's level up together. Bye.